Hello, and welcome to this Magicka Paladin Templar build. I've had a few requests. If anyone if I could post my stats here and my build, and also my champion points, so this is what I'll do. I'll start by showing my stats unbuffed. It has a high maximum Magicka and health. I think it also has a high maximum stamina, considering the build. You need this for break free and dodge rolls and all that stuff. There's a lot of night blades out there, stunning you and fearing you and whatever, and you need the max stamina to break free. Now 2400 spell damage might not seem like a lot, but for this build it is actually a high amount of DPS, because this is a sustainability and resistance build. Now the physical resistance and spell resistance is high, considering you're using two swords and sword and board. It has a high crit resistance because most of the pieces are with impan. Yeah, this is the sword and board bar. You can just buff it up here. Now this is tank resistance. This is almost like a tank. 29,000 physical, 32,000 spell. Yeah, and if you use the channel focus, switch to DPS bar, you still have a high resistance on your dual wield on your DPS bar. I'm using Tri-Stat food, and my Munda Stone is the mage. You could do spell damage or Magicka recovery instead, but I like a little bit more maximum Magicka on my build. Now let's start by showing you what I'm using here. My build is 2 times Malubeth, both heavy and with impen. Exactly, my shoulders are not impen, they're reinforced. I'm waiting to get them in impen, but they're really tough to find. I like the bonus that it gives. I think it's broken right now. Some people tell me it's broken. That instead of stealing health over the entire duration, it steals the health every second. So no matter if it's broken or not, it's still really good at the moment. And I gain 30% increased healing from all sources while I get the beam. Then I'm using 5 pieces of transportation, 1 light belt, so I'm using 6 pieces of heavy and 1 light. And I have the 2 rings of transportation, both with spell damage. So when I switch to my sword and board bar, I get the transportation buff. And I have the mace with defending for extra resistance, and absorb stamina. So you can do a few light attacks with the mace and gain some stamina back. 1 light attack gives you a decent amount of stamina. And the shield of transportation, also with impen. Then I'm using 5 times Fasala's Guile to reduce the attacker's healing. I reduce it by 56% for 2 seconds whenever I get damaged. You will see how much the enemy is struggling to heal sometimes when Fasala's Guile is in effect. And then I'm using the hands, also with impen. Legs with infused, however, I could go impen. I haven't been bothered. This works out great for me. And the shoes and the neck with spell damage also. I'm using 2 swords of willpower on my DPS bar, both with sharpened. I'm using absorb Magicka on the first one, and increase your spell damage by 350 for 5 seconds. That procs if you do like a light attack. It will not proc just by DPSing with the puncturing sweeps or whatever. My skills, I'm using Degeneration to gain life back and do a little magic damage. It also works as a dot, and the more major skilled abilities you have, the more recovery you have. It also gives me major sorcery. Explosive charge works as a gap closer, and it also interrupts the enemy if he is casting. Radiant Mage Light. I could go Purifying Light from the Dawn's Wrath, just to put this on, and it's cheap and it gives a lot of damage and healing to allies. But I like the stun. It prevents the stun by 50% for you and nearby allies. It also gives me Major Prophecy, increasing my spell critical, and I can expose invisible enemies. And there's a lot of Nightblades out there, that's why I chose it. Sorry, my English. Vampire's Bane works as a dot and reduces enemy movement speed if they're trying to get away or yeah. Upon activation, I gain Major Prophecy, so I gain the same thing for both of them, but one doesn't negate the other. It doesn't stack, but I gain so much more from this, from the Mage Light. So Vampire's Bane and Puncturing Sweep, this is my main DPS. Ice Comet, you could go Shooting Star to gain extra ultimate back, but I like this one. It has an increased initial damage and reduce enemy movement speed by 50%. And if I switch to my sword and board, I have Reverberating Bash. Yeah. Works as a stun and reduce healing received by 33% for 10 seconds on the enemy. Honor the Dead. I use this instead of Breath of Life because 1, I'm not the healer. 2, it gives me Magicka back. Whenever I heal someone who's below 75%, I restore 60% of the ability's cost. This is a perfect ability. Channel Focus. Use this whenever you can. It's cheap. It only costs 864 Magicka, but you gain 120 every half second, so that's 240 every second for 18 seconds. So use this, and you also gain a lot of resistance. Ritual Retribution, you could go with the other one that cleanses I think further harmful effects and gives you more healing, but I like also to put a little bit of a dot on the enemy. It's not much, but it counts. And Defensive Stance, I use this because there's a lot of sorcerers out there hitting you with overload, and if they hit me when I have this in effect, they will get back the overload. And if the enemy is using elegant sets with overload, he can feel free to get a 40,000, 50,000 crit overload on himself. If it doesn't kill him, then it certainly will bring him way down and reduce the cost of block. And then Empowering Sweeps as my ultimate on the sword and board to reduce damage dealt to me. Also does magic damage, but I don't use this for the magic damage, only for the reduced damage to me. And 4% for each enemy hit. So it's good if you're being ganked or zerged or yeah, whatever. And my champion points. I have 80 points into reduce the Magicka cost. I think this works better than putting him in recovery. I think the reduced cost is a lot better for me, and one in each here. 26 into Arcanist, just to get the 30 bonus. 2 ultimate every time I activate a synergy. And then Befoul. This adds to the healing reduction of the Phasael's Guile. So 56% plus 11.5, you do the math, because I can't. 18 into Tumbling, there is a lot of Nightblade stunning you, as I said, so yeah, Shadow Ward. You could, I don't know if you need the reduced cost of blocking, but yeah, I put 10 in here. You could put 10 into Tumbling and gain 28 instead. 100 into Elemental Expert, 10 into Blessed, and 47 into Thaumaturge. This increases all my dots, and basically a lot of my abilities, or most of my abilities, are damage over time effects anyway, so yeah. 29 into Resistant, and 1 into Spell Shield. And this one you could adjust to however you play, or however you want to play, depending on if there is a lot of stamina guys out there or a lot of Magicka guys out there. I mainly play against stamina guys, so this is why I put a little bit extra into Hardy. And then quick recovery. So these were my champion points. Feel free to post any comments or questions, or maybe you have some stuff I could do differently. I know sometimes I switch out Reverberating Bash and put in Radiant Ward instead. This doesn't work just as perfect as if you had a high damage instead, but yeah, spamming this with a lot of enemies around you will definitely bring down their health. And I have to give a shout out to Decimus, because he's the one who came up with this build. I've made some changes to suit my needs and my playing style. So thank you, Decimus, for teaching me this. And yeah, I think that was it. I think I've said all I had to say. But yeah, thanks for watching, and press like, don't press like, do whatever. This is just my first build video. Alright, thank you.